Hello, apologize for the mute button there. I guess I left it off. So this was a blend method that I just illustrated. As you saw the visual, I option dragged a few and then I used the blend tool to blend the actual steps, okay? Tell you what, I'll do another one, another example to show you how the blend tool works in a more subsequent advanced fill method, something that you're doing right now, maybe that'll help you with your illustration, okay? So, you know how we did the sun exercise last week? The nice, beautiful illustration. So let's just say we had a circle. Watch this, ellipse tool. We call this exercise the 3 circles. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Right? This first circle, we're going to do a gradient. And not just any gradient, a radial gradient. And we're going to make it go like this, just like we did last week. Gradient is still the best, I'll tell you right now. It's the smoothest blend you can do. It looks as 3D as possible. But some people want a different, maybe more of a retro look, right? An illustrative look or something different. So then, in that case, you might want to use the blend tool. So watch what I'll do now. I'm going to do a smaller circle. This one I'm going to fill it white. So I have a white little circle in the corner, the same corner where I'm going to have the lights be more universal for all aspects. So in that case, now I'm going to go to the blend tool and click on the circle and click on the other circle. Remember I said 2 steps? It gave me 2 steps. Now, I'm going to double click and say instead of 2 steps, I want 5,000 steps. Okay, the maximum is 256. That's just how the procedure goes. I wonder if they upped it since the last version. Oh, here, what, 999? Let's see. Okay. Let's double check. No, 2,000? Yeah, it's, the maximum is, 1,000 the maximum is. It used to be 256. Let's see if it looks different. It's the same. So 256 is still the maximum because I saw no difference between 1000 and 256. Command Y, you can see here what it does, it blends this little circle here but you can move this. You can move it anywhere you want. This is just a blend of one object to another. Just like I did with the little picket fence earlier that the mute button was off. All I did was click and click. But this is another way to blend. Look at the effect, it's different. This looks more like an illustration blend of a rendering, whereas this is more of a 3-dimensional sphere of a rendering with a gradient. This is more like a thing. And yes, there's a third one. For this one, lo and behold, this is the mesh tool, another one by itself. The mesh tool is very tricky. If you don't know how to use it, you can easily get into trouble with it, okay? So one thing I want to point out, one rule of thumb, is always, always, always don't use a stroke. So can't use an outline on an object because it's not going to work. It's going to crash your computer. It might even cause other issues with colors and blends and stuff. So make sure the base of the object is the darkest color that you can use. Doesn't have to be black. It could be like dark orange, dark red, dark brown, something dark. It's better to go from dark to light, like it's the highlight of doing art. It's not a good idea to go light to dark. It just doesn't work that way. So from dark to light, that's the way you want to go, okay? So notice I have a black circle with no stroke. If you forget this principle, it's not going to work. So just remember, no stroke. Once that's done, then we go to the mesh tool. And we go ahead and intercept the object in the middle or somewhere in the corner like that. This creates a point of interference. It's like a XYZ mathematical equation of a intersection path. So what happens here now is I can go to the swatches and I can pick a color. Now this color blends with the rest of the object points on the same shape. So what it means is I can move this around. Yes, I can do that. So out of the 3 circles, which one do you like the best? Depends what you're going after. Sometimes some of you might like that one for the reason what you're doing. Some of you might like the one on the right or the one in the middle. Illustrator is able to produce many different rendered results. And the last 2 I'm showing you right now are good, but they're trickier to control sometimes. Yes? Golf ball? You know, golf is my favorite sport. You know that, right? You can tell I gained some weight because I don't play soccer anymore. I play golf. I don't injure myself. But the golf ball will take me maybe a long time. Let's do the banana first. The golf ball, I might have a better solution, honestly. I won't even use this. I might use, in conjunction with this, I'll use maybe the little rivets on top. Okay, but let me just finish this and maybe after we'll go. So, but look, there's more. So let's say the golf ball or something else. You got to remember, this is the tool that you want to stick with. This is the tool, the mesh tool, because look what happens. You got to be careful. You can't just go click anywhere, because if you do, it's going to interfere that point. The trick is to follow the existing path and intercept it somewhere along the same axis. You see? So I'm very strategic. So then I can go and change the color if I wish. Then I'm going to follow this vertical path and intercept it somewhere over here. Because if you keep doing this, it's going to really mess up the whole thing and you can't control it. The trick is to control it and to do it by segments. You understand? So I'm going to press Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, and go back to this one. Very strategically, I plant the anchor point there and I change it to a different color. And then I select this leftover anchor point. I select that color and I click on this one and I select this color, right? And I don't have to use, I can use the white arrow tool, the direct one, to also control these colors, you see? So you really have a nice feel of how this gradient mesh tool works. It does have its advantages, but if it's not necessary, it's not necessary.
It's mostly used for the disco ball.
Disco ball, that's right.
You cannot make disco ball without this.
That's right. See, disco ball.
Can you use a complex shape for that one?
Which one?
Complex shape. For the circle, simply we know that the alignment will be like that only. Can you use any difficult shape for the complex shape where we can see the light and dark?
You can do Command Y, but you can go ahead like this. You could select, like I'll show you with the banana exercise to do this. This is just an introduction. Right now we're going to get into the exercise, okay? So I know the time is 10:50, I got to hurry up, okay? So this is pretty much it. Yes, you could blend in between. I could go to the same tool and go over here, right? And pick a different color. See, because you can do stuff like this. But see, what you're saying with ample shift or sample shift, that's why the next exercise will show a more realistic approach to tracing renderings, okay? So without further ado, I'm gonna just quickly go and let's just save this. I'll call this the 3 circles. Okay. I know I mentioned symbols earlier. We got cut off, we went to break. Just quickly, what symbols are, ladies and gentlemen, is basically symbols are here. See symbols. We did symbol library. Remember we went to use the symbols for the UI kit and stuff like that. You can just drag and drop symbols, but you can make your own symbols. If I want to make this into buttons for a website or something, like basically this here, if I go option drag, make it smaller, put it here, maybe redirect the gradients to another point. Like this could be a symbol for a button for a mobile app. So maybe this will be centered, right? So how do I make this into a symbol, right? Is if I go to symbols, and here's the default symbols. See, these are symbols. You can reuse and drag default libraries. The reason why I have these is because the way the document was made. But I can delete, look, there's buttons here too. See, there's tabs for website buttons and stuff, more buttons, okay? But see, you can make your own symbols. You don't have to rely on these. So I'm gonna go here, select, delete. I'll make my own symbols. So this symbol now, these 2 objects here, drag them here, they become symbols. I'll call this button. So now what happens is this. If I save this file, I can bring my symbols back and forth anytime I want. They become like saved elements. So when I said on your project criteria, use symbols, it's not really mandatory, okay? That was just something I added in there just for me to cover with the lesson. We did that with the UI kit. It's not necessary that you put symbols in there. But the other stuff like Pathfinder and objects and stuff, I think that's all necessary. Okay, so that's what symbols are, just to clarify what symbols are, because you guys asked me before. So that's pretty much how symbols work, okay? Now, let's get back to the final thing here that we're gonna do. So, new document, if you haven't done already, 500, 700 pixels. We're gonna go to File, Place. I'm gonna go to the desktop, and there's the banana. You can use an apple if you want, an orange, whatever. You wanna use a different fruits? You wanna stick with the banana? Banana is more challenging because it's not a circle, is just an apple or easier shapes. This is a complex shape. You have to literally draw the actual shape. So the banana goes like this. All right. So bring it in, okay? Copy it. And you have to go to the layers panel, open up the layers, double click on layer 1, okay? Make it a template. If you don't make it a template, it's not gonna work, just like the other exercises in the past. So once it's a template, we're gonna call this banana template, okay? And we're gonna make it yellow, sure, why not? We do have a yellow color here, yeah, it's good. Yellow, okay? Click OK, and there it is. So if you're doing something realistic and you want to add the mesh tool to its full potential, this exercise here will teach you how the professionals use the mesh tool to the full potential, okay? One person I remember in the graphic design program, this is like 10 years ago, okay? She loved Leonardo DiCaprio, okay? So she got a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio and she image traced his face. I think she spent like hours and hours, like I'm talking 30 hours. And by the time she was done, it looked like real Leonardo DiCaprio. The computer may be crashed because it's a lot of memory when you're doing this. Just be careful when you're doing a face, but that's what happened, okay? You can do a lifelike drawing like this to that level of detail. But I'm talking a lot of points. So for this one, it'll magnify to that potential, so you can upscale it if you like, but it'll work for this example too, okay? So here we go, we're ready. We're gonna make a separate layer. This other layer is gonna be our drawing layer, so we're gonna go mesh drawing on a separate layer. So I made 2 layers for this file. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna draw a rectangle shape. So I'm not using the pen tool, I'm drawing a rectangle shape. Press D for default, so it's black and white, no colors. As a matter of fact, the base color should be yellow, the darkest yellow that I can find. So I'm gonna move this over here, right? Maybe down here. Use the eyedropper tool. I'm gonna eyedrop this deep yellow color, that one. Okay, so I'm eyedropping the deepest yellow I can find. I'm gonna, and make sure there's no stroke. No stroke, right? Remember, make sure you don't have like if you have a black stroke, it's not gonna work. So make sure the stroke is set to 0 or none. From here, none. The one with the red line going across. Okay. Next, we'll have to enter what's called our outline mode. So if you press Command Y, remember? And what's beautiful about Command Y is you can still see the template through it. Because if this layer wasn't a template layer, when you press Command Y, you can't see the template. Do you understand? That's why you have to make sure, and I emphasize this because people forget, make sure this is set to template. If it's off, you won't see the banana. See what I'm saying? So you got to make sure this is a template layer, so then you can see the banana. Okay. I wanted to just emphasize that. Next, we'll convert this object into a mesh object now. To do that, we're going to go to the mesh tool. The one we just did earlier with the circle and all the disco ball, let's call it. But this time, I'm going to strategically intercept the object in the center. Now, why did I start with the rectangle? Because it's the easiest form of breaking down object that you can start with. If I did an apple, I would do the same thing. I would still draw a rectangle, not a circle, because rectangles are very easy to slice and break up. Because remember, a rectangle or a square or a rectangle, if you put it in half or a quarter or nine, you know, different dominations, right? So I'm going to go in the middle here, so it'll break it up like this, right? And then it's like a spine. I'm going to follow it along here and do another one here. So don't miss. Don't actually, it won't let you. But try to go along the line here. Maybe I'll do another one here and another one over here and another one over here, another one over here. You know what? I should have done it. I apologize. I'll do it better. Let's do the halves first. Let's do this. Let's do thirds. Let's do a third and another third. So it's 2/3. So it's 6. Doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you can eyeball the breakdown, it should be good. So I have a total of 12 quadrants. So 6 on top, 6 on the bottom. Then I'm going to use the direct selection tool. Now this still looks like this. Look, it's just a yellow shape. But it's how we're going to form it to become a lifelike banana drawing object is what we're after. So Command Y. We're going to go now and grab this. So all you have to do now is use the white arrow tool, not the one with the plus on it, the simple direct standard tool. That one we're going to go and move this here, drag this over here, drag this over here. Don't worry, we're going to fix this after. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? That's something we'll do after, okay? So we're going to go do this one over here. Move this over here. Move this over there. You have to just kind of work with the, this is why the pen tool is very useful to maneuver with this, so you can know how these shapes work, right? Then this can be over here. See, don't have these twisted like this. Always line them up so they're nice and perpendicular in some ways. You can control them this way. You see, you can kind of tell with experience how this is supposed to look like, right? So you can always go and fix the form of this object. And again, it doesn't have to be that perfect. But you know why? Because when this is finished, no one's going to know. No one's going to see the picture of the banana. They're going to see a beautiful illustration of a banana done in vector. Do you understand? No one's going to say, can I see the original picture? Who cares? Right? Who cares about the original picture? This is what I made. This is art. This is what I made. It's just using a picture to replicate the object. Right. Okay. Sorry? That's the beauty of nature, right? Everything has its own shape. So we're going to go like this now. I think I made too many points, but that's okay. No problem. We can always just tranquate it down to what we need here. So look, I'm just reforming the shapes to basically capture all the details that I want. And notice these middle points. I'm going to move them up here. See, like that. Like that. So I'm just using my color orientation here with everything that I see. This one here as well. Right? Like this. It's very tedious, but it's well worth it when you see the result of what this can do. Look, see what I'm doing? I'm opening everything up. And you know, this is not that difficult, right? Once you like get into it, it's really easy actually. Right? There we go. Okay. So you see what I did? I just converted this into like a mesh. Some say it looks like a 3D object because 3D objects are made of mesh objects too. And in a way it is a mesh object that has a more complexity to the matter. So you can do lots of cool things with it. So I'm going to go like this here. Maybe like this here. Like this over here. Right? What do you think? It's okay? Right? Let's press Command Y. See? I don't have to use the pen tool. I just use the rectangle and I reshaped it using the mesh tool to make it look like a banana. Okay, so now what? So now that we have a mesh object done in Illustrator, it's like 2-in-1 here, we can then use a very popular technique with the help of something called let me just go here. They keep changing the name, so I gotta look for the right name here. Aha, the navigator. The navigator. The navigator is a very special tool. It gives you a second window in Illustrator. So if you open the navigator, it'll give you a preview of what the illustration looks like without me going every 2 seconds, going Command Y, Command Y, Command Y. I don't have to do that anymore. This gives me a preview, a live preview of my progress as I draw my design. That's why this is a very helpful tool. I wouldn't use this unless I'm doing this. This is the only time. I wouldn't use it. Some people use it for other things, but I think this is more useful for this particular reason right now. Okay? So I got the live preview here, and I have the 3D object over here. So now it's time for me to utilize my other tools and techniques to get this to work perfect. And yes, of course, I can zoom in and zoom out. You can even navigate this, see? So you can click and drag, right? So it's very user-friendly like that. Okay, so now that we set up our environment, which is very important, so we're comfortable to do the next step. The next step is to go back here, select our shape, and add more points. So I'm going to use the mesh tool again and add another one here, add another one here, add another one. I don't have to, honestly, for the banana, no. But if it was a face, I would put more points. Have you guys done, I don't do knitting. My grandmother made me nice scarves. I remember back in the day, she used to knit, you know, like knitting, and she would do like colors and stuff. This is how tedious, it's like pins and needles. That's what you can do with this, okay? So maybe I won't do that many. Maybe I'll do a few. I'll do one here, like that. I'll do another one. Maybe I'll leave it alone. Maybe I'll do another one over here. So I'm intercepting more paths. I definitely want to do one over here and one over there, because this has detail. And I'll do another one over here for that detail. Okay? So again, this looks nothing different so far, right? And then I'll do another one over here. Watch this. Because it did this path. I did the horizontal. If I do the horizontal path, it'll create a vertical split. But if I do a vertical path, any one of these vertical paths, you know what it's going to do? It's going to give me a horizontal split, which gives me the leverage of doing the blends now. I'll do another one over here. You see? But the only reason why this works so nice is because the way I did it. It's like an art form by itself. I was very careful how I orchestrated my positions. So you have to take your time with this, basically. So now that I gave it a nice breakdown, I think I can start with my color implementation, because it still looks like a banana, like a solid color. So now I'm going to use the direct selection tool and the eyedropper tool. Remember the one we picked color? And if I hold Command, it switches between selection, eyedropper, selection, eyedropper. It just speeds up the process. So it's not so click, click, click. I don't want to click, click too many times. I want to be able to go click on the colors as opposed to click on the tools, colors, tools, colors. It's like doing this and doing that repeatedly. It's too strenuous, right? So watch what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go over here, Command click. Here, and I'm going to go and sample this color, this green color, okay? Now you might not see anything yet, but just be patient. So Command click again. I'll pick this lighter shade of color too. Command click again, lighter shade of color too. Command click, lighter shade of color. Command click, lighter shade of color. Command click. I'm using space bar to move the picture. Lighter shade of color. Command click, lighter shade of color. And I'll do command click. I'll do this dark color here. Command click. I'll do this one. I'll do command click. I'll do the darker banana color. Command click, the darker color. Command click, same thing. Command click, the same thing here. And command click, same color here. Command click and keep going. And there you go. I think I'm ready to now show you. Maybe over here I'm going to do, whoops, command click, do this color maybe. Oops. I have to mess this up. Okay. Anyway, this is my base. Are you ready? Let me zoom out. You can see the preview starting to look pretty good, right? Command Y, and here we go. Right? It's not perfect, but it's definitely work in progress. So if I move this out of the way now, you can see how it's getting there, right? Look at the real banana compared to this one. So I can definitely clean up the edges, make you put some more highlights and do some more stuff. Okay, no problem. So to do that, I zoom in and I do some more color selecting. Right? Maybe down here, I can brighten the yellow. I can make it a brighter yellow if I want, right? Like a brighter yellow color, right? So I can definitely brighten up some highlights. I can do the same thing here and brighten the colors here. So command click and do some more brighter shades of yellow, right? If I want to brighten up this area a bit more. Okay, so command click, do the brighter shades of yellow. Right. Okay, same thing over here. Can definitely brighten up the yellow in these areas as well. So I just created a more of a blended color by brightening the yellow in those particular areas, right? I can also make the darker areas here as well. The more points you add, the more realistic it'll look. So let's go over here now. Let's use these ones. I'm going to use the arrow tool here and maybe use a darker yellow. Like a darker yellow, right? So we're going to go here. Darker yellow. I don't have to be in outline mode. I can just be in this mode and get the darker colors to show up as well. Right? Right? So it's a little more rendered right now. To get more of like a rigid line going across. That's a little tricky because now you have to get in there and really, really specifically select a row of pixels that'll work as well. So maybe I'll select the mesh tool and do another finite line like that. And maybe select this one. So command click, yellow. Command click yellow. Command click. So I'm creating more concentrated pixels right now by me doing this. Right? See, the more detail I add, the more realistic this line can look now, right? And that's what the mesh tool looks like. So it's all about the detail. Sometimes I've done this and I deleted it and started all over. Because it's better to start all over sometimes than to fix what you've done. It depends. It depends what you're doing and how off it looks. But this is looking pretty good so far, so it's not that bad. Just a matter of fixing some of these points. So of course now you have to, consider stuff like this. You have to go eyedropper tool and fix these little points here. Eyedropper tool, right? Maybe I'll do that one. On the edges over here. Right? Oh, maybe that's a little too much. Right? Right, there we go. So at the end of the day, it gives you a better result than you doing gradients. You see, it gives you a lot more realistic approach than just anything like that. And this is why the mesh tool might work to your advantage if you have to do something more realistic. Now let me show you some more professional. How long did I do this? How much did you time me? Less than 15 minutes. Can you imagine you spend an hour? Okay, with the details and stuff, right? Let me show you some of the more, let me just save this. I would do the shadow separately, right? I would do the shadow, like you see how there's a shadow there. What I would do for the shadow is I would just draw a shape of my own. Watch this, I'll just do this for the shadow, right? And I'll color this, maybe I'll go with like a black color, send it to the back, right? And this object, all you do is you go to Effect, Stylize, Feather. Remember Feather? Okay? And you do like, I don't know how many pixels you want to do, 16, 17, 18, maybe 20 pixels, right? 20 pixels. And then this could be, look, you can go make it bigger, smaller, right? This could be the shadow right here. You see? Simple. And then you can reduce the opacity to maybe, I don't know, 50%, right? Right, so this pretty much, I could have done apple. Apple's easier because it's just round and little colors of red. You can do any fruits are good because it's easy to do simple colors. You can do as far as more organic type of matter works well with this. If it's electronics, I will not probably do it. Maybe I don't know. I've done a phone or something more technical to use.
Can you add the gradient?
Which one?
That gradient.
The gradients?
Yeah,
Like texture.
Yeah.
No. Yes and no. You have to be very careful how it goes because the gradient effect is a little more. It's a Photoshop thing. It's more like a texture. Illustrator doesn't do well with little textures. You could, but it's a little more. It's different. That's why I see this doesn't have any textures really. If you want to do it in detail, you can do your own thing. You do a separate, like, let me show you. So basically I would trace, look what I'll do. So if I want to add detail, I could kind of do something like this, right? I'm just making this up now as I go along, because let's say I want to add texture, and then I want to make this. So there is something called, if you want to go to the swatches, there's textures here, but you have to make your own texture, you see? So maybe I can do, let me see here. You follow me with this? I'll do a texture now. Let me make my own texture. Let me go to none. How do you make a texture? Okay, since we're talking textures. So textures is something you make. So if I go to, let's say, would have helped me to do this maybe. I'll just make little dots, okay? Because they should be more organic looking. Like that blob, I could have used that blob that I did before. So this could be like a texture. You see what I'm doing? I'm making my own texture. I'm going to drag this over here. This becomes a texture now. These groupings become, it's not a symbol, it's like a texture. What that means is this. I can select this and make that the texture. Right? And then, yeah, I can trace the banana as a whole and strategize it, you know what I mean? But I can maybe do this, and then I can go give it opacity, very, very, like maybe 15 or 16% opacity, I can add my texture if I want, right? But that's something you have to work with this stuff here. So you could make texture, but you have to make it from scratch because none of these work. I think they look too good. So yeah, you can do anything, okay? Maybe this, what I'll do with this texture is now that I look at it, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna maybe bring this up here, maybe up here, and move this up here, and keep it concentrated on the highlighted area, right? Because maybe that's where the texture should go. Notice I did the textures can't mix with the mesh tool. Mesh tool is separate than the texture. I drew a separate shape for that to accommodate the texture properties. And the texture might take a little more refining to do. Let me just show you. Double click. Watch this now. You can do a grid texture, brick texture. You can do brick by column text. You can change the array, the texture. Okay. Then you can change, I think, the size too. Oh, let me see. Oh, you can do bigger, smaller, different ones. Where's the size? Here we go. Oh, that more width and height. Width and height, okay? I'm increasing width and height. So you can really, really define the texture this way, so then it affects it this way too, okay? So to do that, you double click, and you can edit the texture with this window here. See, these are all detailed stuff. You understand? Illustrator is not a small program. Don't forget, we teach Illustrator in 2 semesters in the graphic design program. So that's why I can't show you everything, but if you ask a question, I can't refuse you, right? I show you what I can in a respectful way to kind of understand what it does. Is it necessary to use textures? I don't know, maybe, maybe not. I see a lot of illustrations without textures that work really well. Professional stuff too. All right, let me just save this as a banana now, and I'll show you some examples of a more, so this is called the banana mesh tool exercise. Kelsey. Kelsey illustration. Was it illustration of cruise ship? Kelsey? Is it Kelsey? I can't remember his name. But anyways, this one gentleman, he drew a texture, he drew a boat. It's a oh, there it is. This one here. This was done in Illustrator, okay? This was done in Illustrator. This took 6 months to produce. It was for a cruise liner. I think they paid a lot of money for this, probably $200,000 for something like this. But you know, that's the marketing budget they have. And these guys made the cruise ship. I think it was Kelsey, the illustrator. And I don't know why it's loading too slow, but this is the ship here. There was another one. Oh, this is Reddit. Cruise Fever. Royal Caribbean. Right. They're the client. They drew this ship here. So they're the ones that use this for their traveling thing. It's not loading here. Anyways, if I show it to you, the level of detail that they did in Illustrator, it's just, it's incredible how far they did it. But then you can get the smaller level too. This is 2-dimensional. This is the 3-dimensional one they used there. People really ripped it off though. Anyways, I have I think it's Kelsey. Kelsey. policy, illustration, code ship. Right. Boa Daniels. Maybe these guys too used it. Yeah, there's another one here. So look, there's the detail. See that? They didn't use the mesh tool. It's gradients, fills, that's it. There's no mesh tool here. Because if they used the mesh tool, it would have crashed the file. Sometimes the mesh tool is not good. Right? You only use it with certain circumstances. These guys that did it here, they just did it, first they did the technical drawing and then they did the 3D drawing. One student I had, like, again, I was like years ago, he did the Starship Enterprise for Star Trek, and they chose his illustration to go in the museum in Washington. Yeah, they used it as the thing. His brother worked for Nike or something like that, and he did that, and they picked his Starship, you know, the Star Trek, the show? He did the whole Star Trek episode. So, and he didn't finish it in my class, but he started it, and later he emailed me, showed me what it actually looked like. I was very, very proud of him. So anyways, this is the level of detail that you can use in Illustrator. It doesn't have to be just, you know, the mesh tool is good, but not always necessary to achieve this level of detail, right? Yes, but this is 2D. If it's AutoCAD, it's good for 3D. 2D as well, but 3D, I would use AutoCAD for like machinery, for like tools and tool and die making stuff. AutoCAD is industry standard for that, yes. Even Revits. I know a lot of engineer friends that use Revits. Like they use the structure, the walls. Revit's like AutoCAD times 10 because it'll do the electrical, it'll do the plumbing, it'll do all the infrastructure for the building. Revit, it knows everything that's by code. Because AutoCAD is more like freeform. You can do whatever. It's very technical, but Revit does all the structural engineering things that needs to be done. So those programs are next level for engineers. For artists like us, for doing, you know, graphics and stuff, we use Illustrator because we can still do what we want. We don't have any rules. No rules, right? You can do whatever you want here. So there's, you know, pros and cons. These are all professional programs, from Illustrator to AutoCAD to Revit and things like that. Alrighty. So I think that wraps up our Illustrator module. All right. So hope you guys enjoyed the last exercise that we did. It's a little more advanced. Practice that at home. If you want to use it for your projects, sure. If you don't think it's necessary, no problem. This is just something I wanted to show you on the next level. Not just gradients, blends, mesh tool. All these things can play a crucial role in your illustrations. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to see if you guys have any questions and stuff, and then we'll wrap it up slowly. Let me ask the people that are at home if they have any questions. You can go ahead and ask me some questions if you want. Oh, by the way, I'll stop the recording now. Have a good break, everybody, and I'll see you in the next half of the semester. Bye for now.